diys-by-dar, and it is Summerween. The Flippin' Bunch is putting on this challenge for 3 smalls, and the smalls that I found were these. And I am going to flip them in a type of Halloween theme. Now, this is my own canvas, and I am going to put this in this kind of scary picture frame here. The frame is great. It's solid wood, and it was $5, and I'll get the rest of this taken apart and see what I'm working with. Then I did get this cutting board as well for $2. Pretty rough shape. I'll see what I can do with this. And then I found a little candle holder for $1 and this plate for $2, which on replacements.com, it's $11 per plate. If you ever find a platter 19 inches, get it. It's $100. Now I have my bonding boss, and I am going to prime this first. Anytime I'm putting paint on glass or ceramic, I will put the bonding boss on. Then I'm going to take it outside and spray it with some Rust-Oleum paint and primer N1. Now this picture frame has a lot of paper around the outside edge. I'm going to reuse that cardboard, keep my glass, and I'm outside now, and I am spraying my little riser for my plate, and I am going to start to sand. And I've started hitting this with 60 grit and 80 grit, and then the final grit that I used was a 120 to finish that off, and that was what I came up with. It was about the best I could get it. There was one deep burn on that side, and I'm just going to have to deal with that. What I probably should have done is put a transfer over the top of it. Didn't think about it. So this one is completed, and even along the sides, this is oak, and it is pretty darn hard. Now, here is that frame. Usually I soak them and then scrape it off with a putty knife, but I was in a rush, so I didn't want to get that frame all wet, so I took the leftover 60 grit and 80 grit, and I was pleasantly surprised when it came off very easily that way in under 5 minutes. So I think this is going to be my new preferred method with the orbital. To get all that stuff off the back. It certainly was a lot easier than getting your wood all wet. When I turned this frame over, there are so many little grooves in it that I had to hand sand it. It took me about 15 minutes, but I went ahead and I got this all scuffed up. You can see it has some detailing and some of the rails that go around. I didn't want to lose that. I'm back in the house now, and I am going to put this for my riser plate. And of course, look at me measuring it. And I'm making a little line around it. I have some Star Bond, kind of like a super glue for wood and heavy industrial stuff. And I am putting a bead of that on. And I'll tell you what, that stuck like right away. So I couldn't even move it after I set it down. I tried, and it was solid. While that is drying and put away and done, I am wetting the back side of this. It looks pretty bad. I'm just doing a paint wash with some Dixie Belle coffee bean. It's a chalk paint. And I'll get this side done. Hopefully it'll take care of some of them deep cuts that I couldn't get. This was definitely the side that they probably were using, and went ahead and went up the sides as well. And then I'm going to go ahead and let this dry. And onward I go back to my frame with some Dixie Belle paint. And this is all-in-one. So it has the paint and primer in it. And I like that when I'm doing a frame. I am to the front of this board now, and I have wet it, and I am putting my paint on. And I'm just going to go ahead and spread it out. And if I see some areas that need some more, I'll add that. This board had some interesting grain on that side. You can see how dark it picked that up. But I'm going to let that dry and then spray it with some Rust-Oleum 2 times clear matte. While that's drying, I'm starting in on these rails. And I have some Sloan paprika, and I'm going to add that. Now, this is dry, so I can put my transfers on there now. And I really, really like IOD transfers. They are great. Probably one of my favorites. And I came up with a design. And now here is a big boo-boo. And I opted to show you. Look at what I'm doing. Oh my God. I put the cover sheet and everything under my other one. I should have peeled that cover sheet off my big tulip, but I didn't. Now, when I remove my transfers, I like to get my hand under there and just kind of move it back and forth, and I'm pushing it down as it goes. That works really good for me. Now I got this problem. I'm going to get that tulip off of there, and that carrier sheet from that tulip is underneath there, and it's going to make a big empty space where nothing is going to stick. So that was my big mistake. So when I get down to that flower, I contemplating, how can I cut this and take this off? No, you really can't, because there's nothing that's sticking in that chunk of that carrier. So I had to pull it off. There it is in my left hand, and just alter my pattern and put my big flower kind of over the big boo-boo. It wasn't how I wanted it, but it will do. This thing just gave me a problem all the way around through its whole flip. So when I got that one on, I like to take and rub it all down first. And then you can see I get my fingers under there. But like when you get to an area where it's out further, that's where you might get some tear. So that's where you just have to stop. And I use my fingernail usually and get that side down so I can get back under there and then finish pushing it with my hand and taking that whole sheet off. So I'm going to take that out, and it's going to get sprayed again. And while that's drying, I'm back to my picture frame, and I'm adding that black paint in between my reddish colored paint to get those rails to pop a little bit, and it will go, I'm hoping, with my picture. And this is why I like that all-in-one paint. Once I get this on there, I don't have to do anything else with it. And all right, that's drying. I'm back to my chopping block here, and look at all of those broke and twisted off. I had pilot holes. I even did them deeper. So now I have to fill them. I'm not even going to try to put one in. The hooks were probably cheap. So I've got that filled. I'm going to spray that on that end again and find some transfers to put over the top of that so I can save this. While that's drying, I am back to my picture. And I just used this piece. I know it's not the same size, but it was a leftover piece and I wanted to use it. So I'm getting my Tight Bond Quick and Thick glue on there, and I am going to get that all over this picture frame here and put this over the top, and you can see my lines on there. Yeah, you have to do some calculations here. I want to cut a new mat now. I have a Logan 2000, and I'll put that in the description for you. See that little line right there? That little line has to line up with your line coming down while you do a cross cut. So there's my line coming down. I line that little line up there, and then I'm going to push down on the blade that's in there, and I am going to push that forward until I get to the other side, and then you have to stop right on that other line to get a decent cut. And that's the plan all the way around. There we have our frame. I am going to spray paint it with black Rust-Oleum and let that dry. I'm back to my frame. I've got some black wax. I am going to get that on my red. And if some gets on the black, that's okay. We'll just wipe it off. And I'm wiping that dark wax off. If you get into a problem, have your white wax, clear wax ready, and that'll help you take the excess off. And there it is. I'm going to let that dry to that mat. Now, I didn't know what to use here. I had paint, I had gilding wax, I had my liquid gold leaf, which was all gone. And I thought, all right, I'm going to do this. I'm going to mix this up. Liquitex and some gold powder. And that's what I came up with. And you can see with that stencil, that was about what gave me the best result on that. So that was what I was going to go with. I had a stencil, and my plan was to stencil this whole frame. And here's what it looked like. Now, I know that's a little glary, so I'll get you to the other end there. And I did all 4 corners first. And then I went around and filled in the rest of that all the way around. It ended up with this, and I love it. I'm going to do this again. That was gorgeous. Let's see how it's going to go around my canvas, and I'm loving it. It's looking great. So I hope that the actual wooden frame looks great. I have to get this canvas now on this back. This time I tried a palette knife for spreading my glue. Oh my God. Easy. I'm going to do this from now on. And plus, you can sharpen your palette painting skills. The canvas is going on. I drew them lines all on there precisely where it needed to go. Now, I put a piece of cellophane over the top because I'm going to use my roller to roll that down. I don't want to roll right on the canvas. I have some matte gel medium, and I am going to put this on the top of this canvas so it looks more like a painting. This stuff's really cool to work with. You can do a light coat. You can do a heavy coat to give it more depth, but I just did a light coat all around, and now it's drying. And my last step, I have that Liquitex and gold dust, and I'm putting it on that little area that goes right around that frame on the outside, and it is looking good. Now I just have to let everything dry. So the last step is more Titebond. I need to put that mat around that frame, and I'm using the palette knife again. It was glorious. So here is my picture. I'm going to carefully take this outside border and put it down over the top of my print, and it should line up because I measured quite precisely. And I'm going to give this the roller treatment again to get that to stick down well. And when this dries, I'll be able to put it back in the frame. Everything is dry. I'm going to flip that frame over. You can see I added a hanger up at the top, putting very clean glass back in. And I'm going to clean it one more time with a glass cloth. You don't want anything in there because it's a pain if you got to take it apart. I'm putting my picture back in, and I always like to flip it over and take a look. How's the alignment? Is there any dirt underneath it? Now, this is a HMI 515 point setter. I'll put that in the description. And that just gives you those little black points, and then you can push them down to hold everything in. And this picture is for me, so I'm not going to put a back over the top of it. Remember, here's where we started with my 3 items, and this is where I ended up with. The mummy, of course, is my favorite, and it's going to go in my collection. So there you have it, Summerween. And this is put on by the Flippin' Bunch. We have Kat from Owling Dog. We have Levon from Statement Designs. We have myself, Dar, from diys-by-dar. And Crystal from the Crafty Creech. So we make up the Flippin' Bunch. We do lives every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Love to have you aboard. I want to thank you. Please like and subscribe, and I will catch you on the next one.